I think everybody was kind of afraid at first, you know.
Like so many Minnesotans, the pandemic would change the Carlson family forever.
And they're following the science when they don't have data. Without data, we don't have science, period.
Not from COVID, but from what sisters Susan Trelstad and Leanne Goth believed would be the best way to protect their aging parents from the virus.
Mom was such a vital, energetic person. It's hard to imagine. She was a home ec teacher, and she could entertain and throw parties and cook.
She sewed, she knitted, she crocheted, she crafted. She had been so healthy and so active, and then all of a sudden to have this happen, it was really unbelievable.
Darlene Carlson and her husband Ken were in Florida when they finished their series of Moderna shots in March of 2021.
Dad had no reaction to those, and Mom had no reaction to the first one. And the evening of the second dose of the Moderna, she became delirious.
Their mom spiked a high fever, and her strange movements caused them to think she'd suffered a stroke.
So I brought her to the ER, but that completely passed within 6 hours, and she was not admitted to the hospital.
She was hesitant to get the booster because of her reaction to the second vaccination shot.
Instead, their mom thought by switching to Pfizer, she'd fare better. Darlene seemed fine after her first booster. 6 months later, she went back for a second.
May 17th, 2022, she was boosted.
Within a few days, something was wrong.
She looked at me and she said, "I have not been feeling well since I got that booster." That was on a Monday, and she had been boosted the Wednesday before.
She even recognized that it was the booster.
Yes, absolutely.
No, she didn't want to go to the hospital, and I insisted. I said, "This is not you, to be this tired for this long."
Her daughters say their mom went in with high spirits. They go on to detail her daily fight to survive.
Her lungs looked like COVID lungs, but she did not have COVID.
Then she was decided she was going to go to the ICU, so we knew it was serious. They needed more oxygen. They were trying all the antibiotics. They were testing for every kind of fungus, every kind of bacteria, and all of the tests came back negative. And they were trying different medications to treat it, and she wasn't responding to any of them. It was clearly getting worse, not better. At 8 o'clock that morning, they said they were at 100% oxygen on the BiPAP, and they had to intubate. And I rushed down there. I wanted to talk to her before she was sedated.
She had had a heart attack
while on the
ventilator.
And so then the doctor came and I said, "Now, yesterday you said she would have a 65% chance of survival." I said, "What do you think today?" He said, "Things have changed."
Darlene Carlson died 8 days into her hospital stay on June 2nd at the age of 82.
When all of the tests started coming back negative, none of the treatments were working. They definitely said that very likely the booster shot. The very last line of it said, "This must be reported as a adverse reaction to the vaccine." And then the doctor that signed her death certificate wrote it as a contributing factor.
A week later, Susan searched what's called the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System.
I'm a data analyst, and I searched the VAERS database for any kind of record that was similar to hers. And I didn't find anything.
The CDC and FDA established the database more than 30 years ago to report post-vaccine health issues. And according to the website, healthcare professionals are required to report certain adverse events.
It didn't seem like anybody knew that it would be their responsibility to report it.
So you know that if this was the case with your mom, it certainly had to be the case with many others.
And then we found out that when she had her first reaction in Florida, that hospital didn't report it.
Ultimately, Susan entered their mom's death into the system on her own.
People could think that we are like conspiracy theorists or anti-vax people, which we clearly are not. We're getting our boosters. We're, following directives. We're being careful.
And their emails to mainstream media in Minnesota about the oversight were ignored.
I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble.
Yeah.
I just want to shine a light on it because this seems to be in the dark.
Between December 2020 through the end of this November, more than 20,000 reports of adverse events related to the vaccine have been reported in Minnesota, including 462 deaths and 271 people with permanent disabilities. But continued complaints of VAERS inconsistencies have led to growing cries on Capitol Hill to audit the system as the Carlson family prepares to mark their first Christmas without a beloved mother and grandmother, with no good answers.
I posted about my mother's death on Facebook, and all kinds of notifications came up about be careful about disinformation.
It makes me angry because people are, listening to that and they don't have all of the information.
People don't seem to be asking the really important questions, and that it's frowned upon to ask some of the questions. I'm not out there trying to scare anybody. I just want people to be informed.